Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to give my review of Survivor Series 2000. Starting off the evening, we'll go to our first match of the night. It is Test and Albert and Trish Stratus versus Molly, Crash Holly, and Steve Blackman. Thought it was an okay opening matchup for Survivor Series 2000. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Molly, Crash, and Steve Blackman keeping the pace of the match. Molly ultimately hits a roll up on Trish Stratus, pins for the three, and your winners of the match are Molly, Crash Holly, and Steve Blackman. Hats off to Molly, Crash, and Steve Blackman for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is our traditional Survivor Series matchup. It is Road Dogg, K-Kwik, Billy Gunn, and Chyna versus the Radicals. I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Billy Gunn and Saturn starting the matchup for both of their teams. Chyna hits a devastating power slam on Saturn in the middle of the ring. Eddie then hits Chyna with the title. Referee was distracted. Pins Chyna for the three. Chyna is eliminated from this matchup. Billy Gunn then hits a press slam on Eddie. Billy Gunn then hits a finish on Eddie Guerrero. Pins him for the three. Eddie is also eliminated from this match. Benoit then hits a German suplex into a pin on K-Kwik. Pins for the three. K-Kwik is now eliminated from this matchup. Saturn then hits a devastating Northern Light suplex on Road Dogg, pins him for the three. Road Dogg is now also eliminated from this match. Billy Gunn then hits his signature Famouser on Dean Malenko, pins him for the three. Dean Malenko is now also eliminated from this match. Benoit then hits his signature diving headbutt for a near fall. Billy Gunn then goes for a suplex back into the ring, but Saturn grabs Billy Gunn's feet. Benoit then goes for the cover, pins for the three, and Billy Gunn is now eliminated from this matchup. And your winners of the match are the Radicals. Hats off to the Radicals for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is Chris Jericho versus Kane. I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Jericho and Kane, with Kane keeping the pace of the match. Jericho then goes for a tope, but hits a humongous botch. And it was absolutely brutal, man. I think his leg ended up slipping in the ring, and he literally went over the ropes. Could have ended very badly. Honestly, could have ended Jericho's career if he would have landed head first outside the ring. Man, I think Kane kind of saved him on that one, but it was a huge botch, man. It could have ended really badly for Jericho that night. Jericho then applies his signature walls of Jericho on Kane. Kane then breaks the hold. Jericho then hits a lion salt on Kane, but Kane hits a choke slam, kind of counters the lion salt, if you will. Pins for the three, and your winner of the match is Kane. Hats off to Kane for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is for the WWE European Championship. It is William Regal versus Hardcore Holly. I thought it was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between Regal and Holly, with Regal keeping the pace of the match. Holly then hits Regal with the title. Referee ends up seeing it, and your winner of the match by disqualification is William Regal. Hats off to William Regal for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is The Rock versus Rikishi. I thought this was a good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between The Rock and Rikishi, with Rikishi keeping the pace of the match. Rikishi hits a super kick on The Rock, as well as a leg drop. Rikishi then hits a sidewalk slam on The Rock for a near fall. Rikishi then throws Rock into the referee on the outside. Rock then hits Rikishi with a rock bottom for a near fall. Rikishi then gets up, hits a diving headbutt on The Rock. Rikishi then hits a Samoan drop on The Rock as well, absolutely devastating. Rock then gets up, hits a spine buster on Rikishi, hits the people's elbow, pins for the three, and your winner of the match is The Rock. Hats off to The Rock for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is for the WWE Women's Championship. It is Ivory versus Lita. I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Ivory and Lita, with Lita keeping the pace of the match. Lita then hits a devastating head scissor takedown on Ivory. Steven Richards is here. Lita ends up hitting a moonsault on Ivory, but Ivory ended up countering it. Pins for the three, and your winner of the match, and at that time still WWE Women's Champion, is Ivory. Hats off to Ivory for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker in a WWE Championship matchup. Thought this match was a really good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between Angle and Taker, with Taker pretty much keeping the pace of the match. Taker then grabs a chair for Kurt. Kurt then hits Undertaker with the chair. Undertaker then hits a signature old school on Angle. Edge and Christian are here. Christian attacks Undertaker. Undertaker then hits a choke slam on Angle for a near fall. Angle then applies a figure four leg lock on the Undertaker, but the Undertaker breaks the hold. Undertaker then hits a last ride on Angle for a near fall. Referee then noticed that it was not Kurt Angle. It was someone actually dressed up as Kurt Angle. Angle then hits a roll up on the Undertaker. Pins for the 3. And the winner of the match, and at that time still WWE Champion, is Kurt Angle. Hats off to Kurt Angle for getting a win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. Is another traditional Survivor Series matchup. It is the Right to Censor and Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys. Number one, I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with the Right to Censor keeping the pace of the match. Edge hits the finish on Matt Hardy, pins for the 3. Matt is now eliminated from this match. Christian then hits an unprettier on Devon, pins for the 3. Devon is also eliminated as well. Edge then goes to hit a spear on Bubba, but ends up missing. Bubba Ray ends up hitting Bull Buchanan. Bubba then goes for the cover, pins for the 3. Bull Buchanan is now eliminated from this matchup. Bubba then hits a Bubba Bomb on Edge, pins for the 3. Edge is also eliminated from this match. Godfather then hits a finish on Bubba, pins for the 3. Bubba is now eliminated from this match up as well. Jeff then hits a swanton on Christian, pins for the 3. Christian is also eliminated from this match. Val then hits a clothesline on Godfather. Jeff then capitalizes on that, goes for the cover, pins for the 3. And the Godfather is also eliminated from this matchup. And your winners of this match are the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys. Hats off to the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of Survivor Series 2000. It is Triple H versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Triple H and Austin, with Austin keeping the pace of the match. Triple H and Austin then both fight in the backstage area. The Radicals end up attacking Austin backstage, and this match ends up ending in a no contest. A couple of things I'm going to say about Survivor Series 2000 before I get out of here, man. Number one, it wasn't that bad of a Survivor Series. It definitely wasn't the best, but it damn sure was not the worst. There wasn't a lot of traditional Survivor Series matchups on here. I think there was only 2. It was cool to see the Radicals. I think the Radicals were a severe underrated stable in WWE. I mean, you had the likes of Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn, and Dean Malenko. I mean, not taking anything away from Perry Saturn. I think Saturn's a really good wrestler. But to have the likes of Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and Dean Malenko, I mean, Eddie's an all-time legend. I mean, Eddie's one of my all-time favorite wrestlers of all time. Chris Benoit, people, you know, they can say what they want about Chris Benoit's personal life. I don't agree with it at all, just like everybody else. But obviously, Chris Benoit, as far as his in-ring ability, he was a fantastic wrestler, man. Chris Benoit always gave you 110% every time he stepped between those ropes and got in that ring. You know, despite, you know, what happened with his personal life, I don't agree with it either. I think Chris Benoit also needed a lot of help at that time. But as far as in-ring ability and what he brought to the table as a professional wrestler, you had to give credit where credit's due. Chris Benoit was a fantastic wrestler. And to have that stable with the likes, like I said, with Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and then Dean Malenko, who to me, obviously, one of the best cruiserweights of all time. People can say what they want, but Dean Malenko is one of the best cruiserweights of all time. I mean, he put on fantastic matches in WCW with the likes of Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, he had fantastic matchups in WCW as a cruiserweight champion. Dean Malenko is severely, severely underrated. And to have all 4 of those guys as a stable, known as the Radicals in WWE, absolutely fantastic. I mean, I wish the Radicals would have kind of stayed around for a very long time, man, because they would have had championship gold for many, many years. There's not one of those guys that wouldn't hold a belt in WWE for their entire existence as a stable if WWE would have given the opportunity to do so. So it was great to see the Radicals in that Survivor Series matchup against Road Dogg, K-Quick, Billy Gunn, and Chyna. Undertaker versus Kurt Angle was a relatively good matchup as well. The main event, Triple H versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, the storyline leading up to this main event was pretty much who hit Austin. Supposedly, you know, not supposedly, but somebody hit Austin and ran over Austin, which, you know, also had Austin take time off. I think he was actually going through an injury at the time. That was pretty much based upon the story. Austin needed time off, and everybody was trying to figure out who was the guy or who was the person that ran over Austin in that parking lot. And come to find out, it was Rikishi, but Rikishi was kind of playing it off like The Rock wanted him to run him over. So Rikishi was trying to put Rock's name out there, but Rock didn't want, didn't do anything. And come to find out, it was actually Triple H that had Rikishi run over Stone Cold Steve Austin in that parking lot. And this is why we had the impromptu match here in the main event of Survivor Series 2000. And it was a fantastic match, man. I mean, what more can you get? It's Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Two absolute legends in their own right. So, as far as a rating for Survivor Series from a 1 out of 10, like I said, this definitely wasn't the best Survivor Series, but it damn sure was not the worst. I'm gonna give Survivor Series 2000 maybe a 5, 5.5 at best, man, out of 10, because, like I said, there were some good matches on here. There's some matches I could have done without entirely, to be honest with you. It was cool to see the Radicals, and obviously the main event being Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin, as well as Rikishi versus The Rock. Those three matches. Kurt Angle and Undertaker was not bad either. But all in all, I'm going to have to give it a 5, maybe 5.5 at best. Like I said, was not the worst, but it definitely was not the best either. So this is my review of Survivor Series 2000. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classy.